Welcome to the Nothing Else Mattress show. Today we've got Nate Cangemi. I am so excited to have Nate on the show. I am just jealous of where Nate's at. He's just starting his journey and opening a mattress store out in Southern California. Nate's got all kinds of stuff to share with us. He's really an inspiration to all of us that have been friends with him for the last several months. So I can't wait to dive into his why and his vision for his store and what the future holds. Nate, welcome to the show. You guys that are listening, the Nothing Else Mattress show starts now. When we started out, it was just about providing for our families while being in the driver's seat of our careers. I started in the mattress industry in 1999. And when I left the corporate world and Joe and I opened the Big Mattress Outlet in 2012, we could never have dreamed how rewarding business ownership would be for us.
My only regret is that we didn't do this sooner. I was terrified to make that jump, to leave the comfort of the corporate environment. As the old saying goes, I can promise you, the parachute's never gonna open if you first don't jump.
We've built a proven business model that's unique in the industry. It's profitable year after year, even through fluctuating markets and economies. We want to work with like-minded entrepreneurs who, like us, don't mind a little hard work, but want to own something that goes beyond just providing for our families financially. It offers exponential growth and profit opportunity, not to mention just a great culture and a really fun industry.
If you think you might be a fit, we'd love to talk to you.
So today, Nothing Else Mattress Show, we've got Nate Cangemi from Golden Dreams Mattress in California, in San Diego, right, Nate?
Yeah, North County, San Diego, Carlsbad.
Carlsbad, man, I love that area. I've only been there once, maybe twice, but once I know for sure that I've been there. But yeah, absolutely beautiful part of the country. But welcome to the show. I am so excited. I have waited to have you on as a guest. As you know, we've gotten to know one another through the sleep industry, through this mattress mastermind that we've been a part of, and this FAM, Mark Kinsley's group. So anyway, I want to hear more about your story, because every time we talk, we're in like a group setting. And so I've never been able to just sit down and talk to you one-on-one and just have your full attention. So I'm feeling very privileged today to have you on and get to finally ask all these questions.
Well, it's my privilege to be on. It has been an absolute pleasure getting to know you and Joe and being inspired by all the things that you guys have been doing over there. And this last year has been absolutely incredible. And so this is awesome, sitting down and kind of talking about things before we take off and go out and do it.
Okay. So for the world to know, when I first met Nate months and months ago, Nate and his wife, they were considering, Nate was talking about opening a mattress store, and a little bit of experience in the mattress industry, which I'm going to ask you to get into. But you know what? I'm going to let you tell the punchlines. I don't want to steal any of your punchlines. So why don't you tell us, like, kind of what you've done for all these years, what led you to be where you are now, and you just hit us with it.
Yeah. So I've been in the mattress industry about 21 years now. I've always been on the component supply side. So I started with polyurethane foam, and I worked for the two largest foam producers in the U.S., Carpenter and then FXI. Did that for about 12 or 13 years. And that's where I really got to know the mattress industry, and obviously started establishing networks within the industry. Got exposed to like going to the markets, Vegas and High Point every year. And I just kind of got to see the inner workings of, how you take raw materials and how they get all the way to a showroom floor at the retail level. Did that for a long time. And just one of those things where life just kind of started redirecting things. And then all of a sudden, you find yourself with an opportunity to do something different. And it's taken probably several years to get up the courage to actually go and do it.
That's
But
always the
you
problem.
know,
We got the ideas, we need the courage.
yeah, yeah. But just being able to sit back and observe and watch and learn, and then that sort of thing is what allowed you to really, for me, to crystallize what I wanted to do, and then to be able to go out and create a plan, and be out and that we could go out and execute.
There's so much here to unpack because I know some of these details, and as I've gotten to know like what you're trying to do, you have a really unique vision. So tell us about what you're not just opening any mattress store. You have this whole concept that's so different. Do you mind sharing that, or just still want to be a little bit
No,
proprietary?
happy to. Yeah.
Yeah, tell
No,
us all
nothing
about it.
proprietary. I, it's really about, my own personal experience, limited actually on the retail side. Because I was selling to people that were making mattresses, I of course would go into retail stores sometimes just to see what was out there, and kind of see where our product was ending up and seeing how it was being sold. And one of the things that I just started to notice is that, for the most part, and I'll generalize because I don't mean to say that all mattress stores are like this, but for the most part, when I would go into mattress stores, uh, or whether it was a mattress store only, or maybe it was a mattress store within a furniture store, which is also quite common. But I would just notice some patterns. A lot of times it was just very stale. The showroom just looked stale. I felt like you would go in and you would see all these different brands, and they just basically look like rectangles on a floor. Um, and or on the converse, even when you had a nice setting, like you'd go into a nice furniture store, and maybe it was a little more well decorated, but you would have a salesperson who really, bedding and mattresses wasn't their core value. They were maybe more on the furniture side, but they were trying to sell you on the features and benefits of these mattresses. And I remember I would go in and I would just, be browsing, because that's really all I was doing. But I would listen, and I'd listen to them sell a feature or a benefit. And in my mind, I was thinking like, well, that's not even accurate. That's not correct. What they're saying about whether it was memory foam, or if they were saying something about coil count or whatever. And so in my mind, for the longest time, I just had this idea that, I think there's a better way to sell mattresses, or there's a better environment to sell them in. And, over the years, my friends, of course, knew that I was in the industry. And so I would get asked a lot about, different mattresses. What about this one? What about that one? And with my connections, I'd often be able to get my friends, even get them good deals, right? They could go direct to one of my customers and get a mattress for a great price. Um, but even it wasn't all that satisfying, because it was like, yeah, what's your price point? And, oh, you can go up and see this guy. And so in my mind, for years, I'd say for 5 years, I just thought there's a better way to do this. And for whatever reason, the idea of how a bride shops for her wedding gown, that was always in the back of my mind. I was like, look at that experience where they go in, they have a glass of champagne, they fit in this beautiful
Mm-hmm.
environment. It's fun, it's luxurious, it's an experience. And so that was sort of that had always been in the back of my mind. And then one of the things that I saw and started observing, as you'd go to these different markets that we go to, which you go to, and so what I'm talking about, is you go to these showrooms like in Las Vegas, or in High Point, where these companies are paying a lot of money to show their products, and they're beautifully decorated. They create like a vibe, right? You go in there and it's perfectly lit. It's laid out. It's a beautiful experience. And as a person in the industry, you look at these mattresses and you just think, wow, these are incredible. What a great product you have here. But then you compare that to when you go to a mattress store, and you don't have that same sort of they don't create reverence the way that they do in
Yeah.
Vegas at the showrooms. And a lot of it just has to do with the painting and the lighting and just kind of creating the decoration of it all.
Yeah.
And so that was something I thought, this is what mattress showrooms ought to look like, is what we do within the industry when we make our presentations, or when, when mattress manufacturers are making their pitch to the retailer. And so that again just kind of kept feeding the fire. But then what really sort of tipped it was our personal experience. So my wife is a registered nurse. She's been in the nursing 12 years or so. And during COVID, at the height of COVID, this was December of 20, at the very height of COVID, she was under just a tremendous amount of stress, and she couldn't sleep. She could not get sleep. And it actually triggered a pretty traumatic injury to her, from a
Mm.
mental standpoint.
Wow.
And so it triggered a very serious, traumatic situation that we had to deal with. She was actually off for a year because of it. And during that year, with her doctor, every doctor's visit, he would stress, she needs to sleep. You have to get this woman sleep. Let her sleep as long as she can. Create whatever environment you need to create for her. But and in doing so, learn about sleep and how to get good sleep. And so that really sort of triggered, here I was in the sleep industry, in the mattress industry, and I'm like, I don't really know much about sleep. We go to sleep and we wake up, and sometimes you feel good, sometimes you don't feel
Right.
good. So that became a real impactful trigger, as you said, for me to look at myself and go, how can I learn more about this? But then that became sort of the inspiration, I guess, of saying, can I do more with this? Could I, now that I've learned about sleep, which I did, I kind of poured myself into learning about sleep. And then it was kind of at the tail end of us dealing with that I went to Sleep Summit. And, when I went to Sleep Summit, I wasn't really going there with the idea of, I'm going to go and I'm like, I want to open this store. It was in the back of my mind, but it wasn't my main reason for going. I was still a component supplier. There's going to be prospects there. So I just looked at it as a normal business trip where
This is just this is like October of 2023, last year.
last
So
year.
we're talking about
Yeah,
just a year ago.
exactly. So about a year ago, almost exactly a year, go to Sleep Summit and just realize that it was possible, and that everything that I needed to be successful, that were outside of my my skill set, outside of, what do we call it, our unique or our zone of genius, outside of my zone of genius, which is actually quite narrow. But outside of my zone of genius, there were all these tools, but more than that, there were all these people that were so willing to say, you can do this and we'll show you how. And not for their own material gain, or not because they were making money, because they weren't. It was more about, because what we were all collectively trying to do in our own way and in our own little spaces was advance the sleep industry. And, I went from being a complete observer to getting to be in the room with you guys, and with, people that I now consider like, the thought leaders really of our industry. And I got to sit there, over these many months and just listen and absorb. And, you do that for a few months and you feel unstoppable. You're like, I'm ready to go. Let's go.
Bring it. Yeah.
So that's what's led to everything. And then, we just went out and started executing.
I have followed this. So we met at Sleep Summit last year, just briefly, I think. But you said yes to something at Sleep Summit that has been a game changer for me and Joe, and for you too, and is how we've really gotten to know one another. The M3 group.
Yeah.
How it is, so describe to people, because I've told so many people about our mastermind and they're like, what's a mastermind?
Yeah.
So for someone who hasn't been a part of a mastermind before, I think the concept of that is a little unfamiliar. So talk about it for a second, how that's benefited you, because I we've seen firsthand the benefits that you've gotten.
Yeah. Yeah, that mastermind, I didn't know what a mastermind was either. And when it was presented at Sleep Summit, um, outside of Mark Kinsley, who I've known for a long time, I really didn't know a lot of people. So the people that were up there talking, on the stage didn't really know. I knew Stephen Ferguson a little bit, but not well. But when I realized like this mastermind was going to bring all these people together, and it was going to force us to shut out, the day to day for those few hours that we were all together, and to do these deep dives into not just the mattress industry, but business in general, and then really just being people and like kind of
Hmm.
we talk about there were so many times when we were showing vulnerability just as people, and I really believe, and it's probably some Chinese proverb or something somewhere about you really don't know people until they show you their vulnerabilities. And I've always felt that. I mean, that's always been something that when people have their guard up, it's really hard to connect with them, from a business standpoint. But as soon as you start seeing vulnerabilities and opening up, you immediately just like, and that's what happened with our group is
Hmm.
we became family in pretty short order. And it was because, I want to give so much credit to Mark and Tara and Adrian for all the work that they do in creating the environment and creating the curriculum that we review, and creating that sort of forcing us to be accountable to each other, forcing us to be accountable to ourselves, and all the different guests that have availed themselves, which has just been incredible. And yeah, again, just thought leaders and people who inspire, and so getting to do that for a year, and being part of that, family, actually for almost 2 years now, but doing that, like I said, when you do that for a few months, and I think I said this once, is that your fear of failing at something that you is unproven, which I was very,
Of course.
had a morbid fear of, falling on my face, but your fear of failure becomes far, far outweighed by your fear of not doing it, not going for it. And that to me is the difference that M3 made, is that I forgot all fear. I shouldn't say I forgot it, but it created that, like, if you don't do this, you're going to have a lot of regret. So,
I want to linger on that for a second. There, you said so much there. Gosh, first of all, I want to double red underlined the fear of failure. There was a point where that was greatly outweighed by the fear of not doing it.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, and so this mastermind, um, because I would have told you going in that we were in a room of people a whole lot smarter than I am. And I felt a little selfish the first time that I was at Dream Camp, which wasn't the mastermind, but the same kind of group of people. And I sat there and I felt like I absorbed for 2 or 3 days, and I didn't feel like I had much to give back because I'm in this room full of highly successful people, and I'm just sitting there just trying to take in all that I can from these people who have had a lot more success in their professional careers than I had. But what the mastermind has taught is that it doesn't, your contribution is not measured by the amount of success you've had, because we're all at different points in our career. The vulnerabilities in our ability to share with one another and make one another better, that's where the success in it lies. And so now, I mean, Joe and I both feel like the mastermind has been priceless. We've made some lifelong friendships, I know, yourself included. And I can think of, a handful of others that I'm like, no, these are enduring friendships that we're going to have as a result of being in this room together. But while we're in the room together, it is pretty fun to sit and talk business and make one another better and share ideas. And sometimes, you have these ideas. What I've found to be so profound is that we have these really complicated ideas and we present them to the group. And sometimes the solutions are in like the simplest form and like, well, geez, why didn't I think of that? It just
Yeah.
needed somebody to say it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
Yeah.
you've gone from, go ahead. No, you're about to say
Oh, I
something.
was just going to echo, because it's funny that you say that you and Joe, felt selfish, because I felt most of the time, and still sometimes feel, I totally have imposter syndrome. Like I'm in this room, I'm like, I shouldn't be in this room. Like these people are so far in advance, and have been so successful doing, doing it the way that they've done it. And I wanted to glean what I could, but I'm like, I don't feel like I had anything to offer, them. And I tell you, it wasn't until our last meeting, it was like, it made me emotional. You probably remember, because there's always been a resistance to, when I describe what I'm doing, there's always been I've always felt a little bit of resistance from some of the more conventional mattress store owners. It's like, boy, we're dealing with this and you're trying to do this, and I don't know how you're going to get there, um, but I could totally understand that, because it's like, man, you guys have been so successful doing it this way, but that's just not the
Mm-hmm.
way that I want to do it, or the way that I see it. I see it this way.
Mm-hmm.
And, a lot of it has to do with geography. I mean, we're in different areas, and, we all kind of have to cater to our community. But one of the things that really got to me was right at the very end of one of our last meetings. Harry Roberts, the founder of Mattress Firm, who I think you've had him on the show,
Yeah.
who's literally in the top 3 people in our industry. I mean, just greatest guy
Yeah,
ever. I'll put him up
absolutely.
there. I mean, he's just as good as it gets. But he said something right at the end. He said, we're going to be watching you, Nate. And he goes, I feel like you're going to teach us in this industry. He goes, I think we're going to learn a lot from you.
I remember that.
And
He said
I
he
was
was
like,
jealous of you, didn't he?
yeah. Well, and that's the other thing, is like, people have come up and said, man, I wish I was doing what you're doing. Like, I wish I was starting something new. And it's like they're living vicariously, through watching me. But I'm like the little, what do we kind of joke that I'm like the little M3 baby, like I'm the, the little, like everyone's going to watch me grow. And God, I hope I make everybody proud. But I've been so blessed to be able to call you guys, like my board of directors, basically. Like I've been able to go before you guys and present, my ideas, and
Yeah,
and
and how cool is that, man? And I'll tell you, I stand by something I said to you a while back too, that the reason you are going to be successful is because you have the grit and the determination that it takes to be successful. So your model that you are coming up with will either be perfect out of the gate and you'll continue to let it evolve with time as things always do, or you'll see that it needs tweaked and you'll do that right away. But what's going to make you successful, what makes any business successful, is a combination of things, obviously, but at the very top of the list is the drive and the determination of the owner. I was having the conversation earlier today with my son Xavier, that I think we talk about this drive and this grit and this determination, and we use those words, and you hear them repeated a lot. But when it comes down to actually owning a business, I think those things come in. Like, before we own it, we think that what it means is you got to actually show up every day and be willing to put the work in.
yeah,
But once you're there, it becomes a mental battle, because there's things that will work great and there's things that won't. And you'll be, fighting the discouragement and the times that it's not working well, or that you're making, we were talking about social media posts earlier, how, Facebook has gotten where it won't just show your fans, people who have liked and subscribed and follow you and this and that. It won't show them your content because obviously it wants you to pay to show your own, following things. But as a result, like, it gets hard to just want to go in there and post constantly, because you're like,
yeah,
well, nobody ever sees my posts anyway. And you also don't want to go in there and create an ad out of every single post. So the little mundane day-to-day things that don't feel like they're making any progress for your business, but still have to be done, that becomes a mental battle. And the
yeah,
long days when you can be totally slammed some days, and then you can have some days where not much goes on, and so those days get hard. But those are the battles, and that's what you are going to be strong enough to fight through. I know this about you.
Do you know Ryan from? It used to be Moon Tree Mattress. I think they're rebranding to Mattress Lab. They're outside of Charlotte.
That
His
name's not
last name.
familiar.
His last name is Ryan Meyer.
Okay.
Anyway, he's kind of new to the mattress industry, and he's doing well. But one of the things that he said at the last market we were talking, kind of in line with our conversation, he's like, the reason that so many people fail, especially in the mattress industry or in retail, is they just stop trying to solve solutions. They give up on solve. He's like, as long as you just keep solving problems. I said solving solutions.
Yeah, I knew what you meant. Didn't even think about it.
As long as you keep solving problems,
Yeah.
you're going to be successful. And then, in M3, we talk so much about our why and identifying our why. And once you have that why, and mine is a very clear why, because it's my family, it's my children, it's trying to build something that I can invite them to. I'm not going to force them to, but something I can invite them to get involved in, and a business, that would be there for them if they wanted it. Once you have that why, that kind of helps with that determination and grit. And I know you have the same thing now. You got Xavier involved.
Of course.
So,
yeah, and the drive to be successful, and not just to be. You heard this from the stage in our pitch at Sleep Summit. Not to be an also ran. With Joe's racing background, we don't go. He didn't go to the track just to race and to be on the list of racers. No, you want to be the winner.
Yeah.
So that's addictive to grow a business and see it succeed and grow into something that it stops being about the profit a long time ago, because one store was profitable. It stops being about that and starts being about something different and something outside of myself. And for me, the why obviously is providing for the family, but again, we could provide for the family with one store. So now it's about creating entrepreneurs, because that feeling that I got from the success of 1 and 2 and 3 stores and so on is now I want to give that to somebody else.
Yeah.
Let them fast track past all of the mistakes we made when we first opened a store and learning how to build this business model that's worked so well for us, and just put them right in as franchisees. You know what? We'll hand you the blueprint. Here you go. Now go just execute it. Yeah. And so now we can help somebody else be successful. And so, your why has got to be so important.
And I think in doing what you guys are doing and watching and just kind of being a part of this group is when we all do that, when we all have our own whys and we try to help, not just ourselves, but others be successful, we start to affect overall change, which is another kind of aspect, which is how do we change the perspective of sleep to people, because sleep is so important. It is. I mean, that's something that you and I share. We're both certified sleep coaches, and it's so important. Like, how do we change people's minds about? And I'm not just talking about like, oh, how do you make them spend more money on a mattress? That's not what I mean.
No, it's not about that.
It's about how do you get your guests, your consumers to understand how important this decision is about where they buy their mattress and who they buy their mattress from. And if we all do that a little bit, then all of a sudden we might be able to change that kind of that narrative that's out there. Which from what I see, with so many people buying mattresses online, it's just like, mattresses are just these collection of components, and I'll just, buy the cheapest version of the thing that I think kind of.
They don't know that it matters.
Yeah, and
they don't know that it matters. What is the study that I think the FAM did this study where they had people rank the components that contribute to a better night's sleep, and sleep aids was what customers by far ranked number one. So let me just take something
right?
Pharmaceuticals, right? So that was by far the number one result. And sixth, wasn't it on the list? Was
sixth or seventh, I think. Yeah,
it was like almost dead last was the mattress, and it was such a small number of people that thought that it even mattered.
Right.
But we've done that. We've commoditized it. The industry, when I say we, I mean the industry. That's what
Mhm.
we've done by doing these gimmicky sales and making the conversation be about a free this and a free that. We've devalued it in their minds. And so now it's just something else to wait on a sale for and get something for free. And they don't even understand how it can make a difference.
Yeah.
But now,
Yeah.
like you said, how it makes a difference where you buy your mattress too, not just what mattress you buy. So how are you gonna? Because part of what you're building here is not just this showroom with the aesthetics, but is the education. So how are you going to kind of walk people through this process? Because you got a really unique and I think a super cool idea there too.
Yeah. So one of the things that we're really focused on and we are committed to um, for as long as we possibly can, because this is probably the biggest aspect that I think is, as I talk to people in the industry, that they're most skeptical about. But we are going to be appointment only, private. So when you make an appointment with us, with our store, at first it'll be me, and then as we grow it, it could be others, certified sleep coaches. But you get the showroom to yourself. So ideally, you and your partner, if two people are in a bed, are going to come in, and we're going to just take the time. There's going to be no distractions. I'm not going to take calls. There's no other guests to tend to, and we're just going to take that hour or whatever it takes, hour 15 minutes that we've blocked out, and we're going to give you our full attention. Now, a few of the things that we're building into our process that helps us and kind of makes us more effective is when you set an appointment, we'll have a brief, rather non-invasive sleep survey, but just something that helps us to wrap our minds around what problems we may be trying to solve, and also just to kind of check some boxes on the size of the mattress and the space that you're putting it in, kind of those things that you get to the end of a sale and somebody goes, oh, I got to go measure. It's like, well, let's do that before. Let's
Yeah,
get you
yeah, exactly.
prepared before you come in
No, I got
to
here on the
that.
survey. You said.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of a big component, is the private appointment based, and then like I said, having that sleep survey. But then the experience itself, we really want to, again, try to create reverence for this decision. And
Yeah.
so instead of coming in and going right to a mattress or even to a fitting process, um, our idea is we want to get you in as much of a relaxed state as we can get you in the middle of the day, which is when most people are going to come in. So before we go to anything, we're actually going to invite you to take your shoes off and just then enjoy a massage in our massage chairs, a few minutes again, and it's optional. You don't have to do it, but we think most people will like that idea, to just kind of create, again, just a little bit of relaxation. We talk to them a little bit while they're in the chair about why we're doing it, to make sure people understand that everything that we do in our process has an intent, and it has a purpose, and the purpose is to help them, not
Mhm.
necessarily to help us. Um, and so we kind of want to do that. May or may not involve a beverage of the adult kind, if they're so inclined, prior to going. And then once that's done, we're going to start the fitting process. And that's another kind of key takeaway that I've gotten from M3 and from listening to everybody, from, Sam and Terry, or to Nicole and Greg in Kentucky, to you and Joe, is just taking the time to really fit people, not just to
Mhm.
the mattress, but to the essentials such as pillows and
The whole system.
adjustables, the
Sure.
whole thing. And so it'll start with a fitting, um, on we have autopilot we're going to use, which is it's kind of like a sleep number. You can kind of dial in the feel. It actually has a lot more value and a lot more features and benefits than sleep number. It may not be the right bed. We're not putting people on them to sell that bed. It's a lot of bed. It's a lot of data. Some people might be interested in it, but for us, it gives us an opportunity to get them kind of understand what their preferences, what they in the position that they like to sleep in, and then while they're there, we're going to fit them for a pillow. And we've got a couple of really unique pillow products that we know work, and they work well to actually do what a pillow is supposed to do, which is support. So many people think of pillows about like feeling cushy and comfy,
Yeah.
but it's not. There's
We'll talk about the pillow for a second because I'm right there with you. I'm a believer in getting the right pillow.
yeah. So I work one of the primary components that I sell into mattresses is Talalay latex, and
Hmm.
Talalay is the Cadillac of mattress components.
Hmm.
It's an all natural product that comes from the rubber of latex trees, and they're able to mix it into a liquid. The liquid is then turned into a solid through a state of reacting it with the things that it needs to react to. And so the benefit of it is you have an all natural product, but more importantly, you have a very soft product that is still maintains its cell structure support wise. So it's a very supportive product. We would maybe use the word resilient, uh,
Hmm.
whereas a memory foam is enveloping. It kind of contours
Hmm.
and your body will form into it. Whereas Talalay is always going to resist.
Sleeping on it rather than in it.
Yes, exactly. Sleeping on it rather than in it. But for your head, for your pillow, that's what you want. You want something that is going to be soft and cool because it has natural airflow, probably the highest of any mattress, non chemically treated mattress component. I mean, there are
Hmm.
other products out there that if you have a chemical treatment or you treat a fabric, you can get sort of that cooler feel. But from an airflow perspective, which is really the key to sleeping cool,
Yeah, it's the most
Talalay,
important.
yeah,
Sure.
Talalay is the best. And so that combination of airflow, feel, softness, but resilient support, it makes for a pillow that when and they also, I should say, the pillow that we're using, it's also mechanically, they do some things to it mechanically that actually create, it's still all Talalay. They don't add any different product to it, but they're able to make it in such a way that it creates a little bit of a cavity in the middle, which again creates more airflow. But it also creates, I just call it a bowl. It creates a bowl. When your head lays in it, it just sits right on this pillow. And it comes in different sizes and feels. So depending on your sleep positioning, your body type, it could be it's like 12 different feels,
Hmm.
and nobody in the industry has this exhaustive of a product line for fitting. I think bed gear, they come pretty close, but bed gear is all memory foam. Um, and so we think, and we've seen with the success that this product has had in the stores that it's been in, that it's the perfect essential to kind of introduce people to. Now, if at the end of the day, it's not, we will have other options, but it's just kind of the one that we're going to start with, just because I believe in it so much and I sleep on it. I was sleeping on a National Brands pillow, which is awesome, but this pillow was better. And
Blows
now
it
that
away. Blows it
and now
away.
that now that it's like I took one $200 pillow and I now use that as my body pillow, and I have this other.
That's my knee pillow, my
Yeah,
$200 pillow. But I like this technical conversation because with the back issues that I have, and so many of our customers have back issues, and no two are really the same. But I had a spinal fusion, and I remember consulting with different surgeons, and one of those was a neurosurgeon, who's the one I ended up choosing to do my surgery, my fusion. And one reason I liked him so much is he said, "Look, as a neurosurgeon, I want to understand how your entire spinal column works." He said, if all I do is imaging on your lower back, which is where your actual problem is and where we're going to do the surgery, there may be something going on further up in your spinal column leading to your brain that I need to be aware of because these things have chain reactions. So the light bulb went off to me because I'd always talked about the advantages of having the right pillow to support. And I always looked at it like, well, the mattress quits doing its job from like your shoulders up. Now it's the pillow. And while that's true, your entire spine and spinal column is a chain reaction of things that work together. That's how our bodies were designed. So if you don't have the right support for your neck and head, it actually can affect things even further down on your back because of how you'll stay when you're sleeping, you'll have, some muscles that are tensed, or if something's not lined up properly and it's impinging some nerves, it affects other parts of your body. The pillow is so important.
Yeah.
And sometimes we don't want to get into too many technical specs with a customer like that, but sometimes it's helpful that they understand the importance of picking the right pillow. We don't
Right.
just pick one because it feels snuggly and we like it.
Yeah. And honestly, I'm going into this with the mentality of, if a person comes into our store and for whatever reason we can't find the right mattress, it that's okay. If they walk out of the store with a pillow that I know is going to help them get better sleep, that's going to make me very happy. That's going to be very satisfying. I mean, I think sometimes we think, well, the mattress is obviously the most expensive thing, so that's the thing you're going to make the most money on, so that's the thing you're going to focus on. Well, maybe it is the pillow, or maybe it is just a combination of, hey, we get you this nice pillow and we get you into a better position through an adjustable base. Maybe your mattress is fine.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
So
and
that
we've become, go ahead.
no, I said, so that's just the mentality. It's not, we don't, when you open a mattress store, I found this out. I didn't want to call it Golden Dreams Mattress. Because I didn't want to be
Really?
pigeonholed into mattress. I wanted to call it like Golden Dreams Sleep Studio or something like that. I wanted to focus on, we're here for sleep. But unfortunately, in the world that we live in, the word mattress in the title of your company, it's just, you have to have it because of
Yeah.
the way that search engines work and keywords and all that stuff. So that's fine, and we're happy to do that. But we really are like a sleep studio. We want people to come in and experiment, and we'll try to figure out what the best path forward is for people.
Yeah, and you hit the nail on the head when you said, what if all they need is a pillow, or maybe they just need an adjustable base to get a better position? They don't have to get the whole system, because one of the things that we teach in our sleep fitting in the stores with our guys, sort of our sales process, is take care of the person that's in front of you. Because if you truly listen to their unique needs, sometimes they need the whole sleep system and every component of it, because all they have is an old hand me down and they're getting horrible support. They need the whole thing. But sometimes all they need is a lower profile box spring, because their mattress, they think they need a shorter mattress, but their mattress is fine and they needed a $200 box spring. Sometimes all they needed was a pillow. Sometimes their mattress is fine. They needed an adjustable. The solution is not always the same. So when we approach it from an individualized standpoint, which is exactly what you're doing, and so few stores are doing that, so few. And like you said, we can't make a blanket statement. We're not even knocking the big chains, because it's not like that. It's just that sometimes when they get to be a certain size and they have so many stores, they might at the corporate level or at the instructor level believe in how customers should be treated on an individual basis, but it's just so hard for that to trickle down to each individual RSA on a sales floor in a small town. So when we are a small company, we get to control that. And hopefully, I know you and I feel the same way. We're trying to change the industry.
Yeah, it's funny because I totally agree, and I think sometimes maybe because we don't want to seem grandiose about our vision, but that really is how I feel. Like, I'd like to. I'm not saying that I want to have 150 store chain. That's not really why I'm getting into this. But if I could build something that enough people notice that they go, hey, we want to start doing that, because that not only
Exactly.
is it successful, but it makes for
Good idea.
it's helping people get
I just
better
like it.
sleep. Like,
Yeah,
that's
I like it. It's a good idea.
right.
Absolutely. No, I
Uh,
agree with that completely.
so that's sort of our you know I don't do vision boards, but if I did, it would be like maybe like I said, doing podcasts like this in a year from now,
Yeah.
talking about our success. I told Mark Kinsley I want to be on the Sleep
The
Summit
plan.
stage, not as
Hmm.
a singer though. I want to actually get up there and uh, give somebody some information that can help them. And so
So if you don't know, the reason the singer thing, we all got surprised at Dream Camp this past April in Palm Springs, California. There was this surprise band that was going to play a live performance. We're like, oh, this is cool. We've had these events and everything, and who doesn't love live music? So then we get there and we realize that the the band is Nate's cover band that he and his buddies out of San Diego, they have this band, and they are really, really good. Like, they're not just kind of okay, they're extremely good. And Nate's the front man, he's the singer. Like, I cannot tell you, and they can do all kinds of genres. And I want to divert from the sleep conversation for a second, because I don't care what industry you're in or where you are in your career. Everybody's got a hobby and a side gig that something they love doing. Talk about your music and your band. And I mean, how often do you guys get together?
Yeah.
Do you know one another? Just tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I grew up, my dad was kind of a really good musician. And I grew up, my dad's a baby boomer, right? So, in the late 70s and early 80s, when families would get together, the dads would get the guitars out and play music, and you'd
Hmm.
sing along. And so I grew up singing all, Beatles and, just all the classic bands that you would have. So I got exposed to great music from an early age, got exposed to good musicians and, singing. My dad's a good singer, and some of my fondest memories are, learning how to harmonize with him when I was a kid, like
Mm.
being able to carry a different note than him, and just how that made me feel when you have two voices that, create one sound. And, and then post high school got bit by the grunge bug, and, wanted to be Eddie Vedder or Kurt Cobain, and started writing music and started trying to, be artistic, and didn't really have much success. I mean, we got to play fun shows, and we recorded some music. We never got any sort of notoriety, although we did grow up around some cool bands and got to hang out with guys like bands like Cake. I don't know if you remember a band named Cake.
Okay. Oh
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely, I do.
yeah. So did that for a long time. And actually, when I moved here to San Diego, I moved away from that. I had kind of been out of music. And then the first gathering that I went to down here that I got invited to, some guys were there and they had guitars. And so we formed it. Of course, that's what you do. You meet a couple guys and you just form a band. So that's what we
Yeah.
did. So kind of did that from the late 2000s to the mid whatever tens. And then got asked to sing at a really nice event. And that's where I met the drummer, Garrett, who and the guitar player, Nels, and the bass player, Adrian. So we played a kind of a one-off show. And then from that, it's funny though, because when you make the leap from original to cover music, there's
Hmm.
a little tiny piece of you that dies, right? Because you're going, there's that little sellout part, right? You're
Yeah,
going from,
I can see that.
yeah, it's just something that every musician goes through, and some people won't do it. But we made that leap in like 2013, and we just decided we're just a party band. Let's have fun. Let's play awesome shows and just but work hard, like be good at it, be good at our craft. But when we put on a show, let's give them a good time. And yeah, so the bands, they're very talented. They've worked very hard. We rehearse at least a couple times a month, and we try to gig once every 2 or 3 months. We kind of have a less is more, like the less we play, the more people show up. um, but what was crazy about Sleep or Dream Camp was that was worlds colliding in a way that I never really thought would ever happen.
Yep.
There were a few people in the sleep industry that have seen me sing over the years. Mark, actually, the first night I met Mark Kinsley was in 2008 or 2010 in Orlando at ISPA.
Okay.
And we randomly ended up in a limousine together, fairly late, as those nights often are. And we ended up at the Dueling Piano, Howl at the Moon, Dueling Piano Bar. And I think it was actually John Merwin who knew that I sang. He went up and tipped the piano guy to let me come up and sing, gave him like a $50 bill. And I went up and sang, I think I went up and sang Superstition. And so that's sort of that was the introduction to a few people knowing that I could sing and kind of had that background. But yeah, being able to play for the sleep industry as we did at Dream Camp and then again at Sleep Summit, that was such an honor. That was like, it just, and the guys were so great. The band, I mean, they were so gracious about coming out
Yeah, they
and
were.
yeah, I mean, that
Because
was
well,
a big ask.
yeah, well, Dream Camp was there in Palm Springs, so not that far to
No, that was a
travel.
fairly easy drive.
Yeah, but Sleep Summit here this past month was in Bentonville. Earlier this month, actually, was in Bentonville, Arkansas, and you guys are
Yeah.
San Diego. So yeah, that was awesome. When I heard they were coming out for that too, I was so
Yeah.
excited.
And I have to say, and I've told most people, but if there's anybody listening that was there, or anybody that's thinking about coming, to next year's, if we happen to get asked about, it's an amazing crowd. You guys are the band has said it like it's not the biggest audience we've played for, but you are per capita, pound for pound, the funnest. It is so much fun. Oh my gosh, it was absolutely bonkers. It was so much fun.
It's so much more fun to play. I'm a musician too. It's so much more fun to play when the audience is into it.
Yeah,
I mean, it just
yeah,
makes you better. Even you just it just you feed off one another. It's just so much
yeah.
better. And you guys were the hit absolutely of Sleep Summit. So, um, I mean, if anybody listening, if you get invited to one of these events and Cover Me Bad, right, is the name of
Yeah.
your band, and get a chance to hear them, absolutely worth the price of admission for
Wow,
sure.
thank you.
Yeah, so much fun. Always a highlight. That's the part we talk about. Not all the speakers and all of the valuable information that we can actually come back and apply.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the band because that was the fun part.
Yeah, well, I'm glad
So,
people,
yeah,
and honestly, it was nice to. That was sort of the way that I felt like I was giving back to this community. It's
yeah,
like, hey, this is a way to go and do something for these people that have like done so much for me. I mean, I can't even put into words like what this group of people has done for me over the last year, and that means you too, Kelly. You and
well,
Joe
I
have
thank
been
you because that goes
you
both
guys have
ways.
been so instrumental in it, and so I really really appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate that, and that definitely goes both ways. I feel like you are you're so relatable. One thing that I find in the short time I've been doing the podcast, and that's nothing compared to some of these guys that have had, I was on the Pete Primo show last week, and he's like on the 195th episode. I'm like, I'm just a baby here, I've been doing this such a much shorter time, but in the time I have, and in the handful of people that have had these conversations with, so much that we have in common, in that there's that fear, like you said early on, fear of failure, fear of not having done it. But now that you're full speed ahead and you've got a lease and you're opening, I mean, there's still that fear of what if it's not what I thought it was going to be, what if a million different things. So those fears never go away. um, but we also, you have to find the right balance, because I know your family is obviously a high priority to you, your faith. You've got the band in there. You guys try to carve out a little time for personal activity. So I mean, I just admire when I look at you and your balancing everything that you have together and being able to still be effective and move forward with opening a store. 'Cause sometimes that's a challenge too, not to get off balance.
Yeah, yeah. No, and I think about that, not getting, even with the store, if even if it's in a good way, you get sucked into being really,
Yeah.
really successful. I want to monitor that too. Like I'm not, I know this sounds crazy, especially because we're talking about being entrepreneurs, but I'm not opening the store to become rich, or anything like that. I want to create something that fits with my lifestyle and these other things that are important to me, which is family, music. I like to travel. I want to be able to, and that was one thing I learned, kind of the negative. The last corporate job I had was in the foam industry, and it was working for one of the big foamers, and it wasn't I didn't enjoy it. I didn't like the culture. I didn't like what they wanted to what they demanded of you, and then what little you got back from what they demanded of you. And
Mhm.
and I think that's really what being an entrepreneurial, or having an entrepreneurial spirit is just thinking of a way that you can create something that is going to support your way of life and
Yeah.
the things that are most important
Yep.
to you.
Doesn't it boil down to happiness, right? I mean, you recognize what in your life makes you happy, which in your case, your family, the priorities that you've set, and what's going to enable that. But I talked to one guy and he was like, I feel like this is kind of shallow, but I just want to make a whole bunch of money. Well, you know what? That's his why.
Yeah.
And I don't fault people for having their different reasons, but I do think it's really important to have your why,
Yeah.
because that's what stays in front of you. Um, my why has changed. It started out I just want to make a living. I didn't like a corporate position where I was always afraid for my job just because of the nature of how the company, was bought out every few years.
Yeah.
Um, so that my why was I just wanted to be in control. I'm like, if you want to be, I didn't want to be told what to do. Like I've just
Yeah.
never been really good. Joe will tell you, I'm just not really good at following directions. Like, if I make stupid decisions, maybe I get the stupid award, but if I do okay, then I kind of want to get the benefits from it too. But,
That's something I've if I could teach my kids anything right now, or equip them in any way, and they're all still pretty young. My oldest is 16, but as they getting into the workforce, or they get into that age or whatever they want to choose to do, I wish I would have realized 20 years ago that I was not set out for, corporate life. That wasn't what I wanted to do. And I mean, I was in it. I was trying to work my way up the ladder and the whole thing, and got high enough up there. I was like, yeah, this is pretty good. And then just realized, like, yeah, I hate this. I
yeah,
don't
yeah,
want this
I'm just
at
not even
all.
happy. I don't like
So
it.
if my kids can figure out, like, hey, do you mind working? Do you like working for other people? Or would
Yeah.
you rather kind of be your own boss? And I know I say that like it's the loaded question, but the reality is some people don't. Some people don't want to
And there's
be
nothing wrong with that. I
totally
cannot emphasize that enough, because if everybody was an entrepreneur, there'd be no employees.
right.
There's so many people are excellent workers. They give them the operations manual and they will show up religiously, faithfully, and they will execute all day long. And they are
Yeah.
great employees and they're great assets to the companies they work for. And some people are just built differently and they need to be the one that writes the manual. They need to be running the company. They're the visionaries. And we've talked a lot about that even in the mastermind, is finding where your unique abilities are. Are you sort of the visionary in the company, or are you more the executioner? As bad as that
Yeah.
word sounds. I'm the executioner. But what I mean? We've talked about that though, like figuring out what makes you happy, what role you need to fill. Because if you're in the wrong role, I mean, it's frustrating.
Yeah.
If you're a
Yeah, that's
visionary
right.
and your hands are tied because you're an employee, an hourly employee somewhere, then that's a recipe for unhappiness.
Yeah. And it also it can change over time, right? You get out of school,
Yeah,
you're in your early 20s, and you're just out there soaking it up, learning. You're a good employee, but then at some point maybe you do realize, yeah, I need to go out on my own. I need to branch out and kind
yeah,
of, go back to being in a band, right?
yeah.
You could be a musician, you could be the bass player, and you're writing, but behind the scenes you're writing great songs, and you got a good singing voice, but the singer's not going to give up he's not going to give up the mic. So then you go, well, I'm going to start my own band. So
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
whatever it is that you
Um,
got to get out, you got to go and do it. Um, but I think, circling back to M3 I realized that a few years ago, but being in M3 is what has equipped me to be able to go out and be like, I'm just going to go and I'm going to build this thing. And so it's been a wild ride. It's been fun, so much fun.
well, I'm enjoying watching, and I can't wait to see how your grand opening does and how the store does. I can't wait to have you back on the show in a year, and let's talk about the excitement of how it's all gone. Golden Dreams Mattress. So you've got a Facebook page, you've got a online presence already. So I signed up for alerts just because I want to be a fan. I want to see what's going on. I want to show you the support online. And
Yeah, we appreciate
so
that.
anybody listening, even if you're not geographically in the area, just go support. Because I always say that there are a lot of ways to support a small business besides buying from them. Just sharing their content, liking their page. If you have interactions that are positive, go online and leave a review for them. We tell people all the time, like, you don't have to buy something from someone to leave a review. If you've had an interaction that's positive or negative with a business, it's okay to review them based on that interaction.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's absolutely a way you can show support for small business.
Yeah, that's one of the things we really hope to, one of the main goals we hope to accomplish with the grand opening is just letting people come in and see what we're going to do and see the showroom and hopefully, hopefully impress them with enough where they can see the vision. And even if they aren't in the market for a mattress at that moment, to still be able to tell other people about what we're trying to do and, to get to know me well enough to know that I'm, I know what I'm talking about, but more than that, I really do genuinely just want to help people. And I think if any business, going back to a point you said earlier, if any business just makes that their main focus, I really do believe you'll be successful no matter what, no, whether it's mattresses or restaurant or, pet
Just
store,
take care of
whatever it
people.
is. Like
Yeah. It's,
you,
there's,
you
it's so rare
make,
today.
yeah, make your guest your why, and everything else will take care of itself. I think. Maybe I'm
Yeah,
getting naive.
it's so rare today for people to even feel like they've been heard or understood or even given a second thought to, that when you do, even just the basics, you stand out neck and shoulders above the. It's unfortunate, but that's just how it is. Take
It's
care of people.
I it is I was I'll tell you one real quick little story. I know we're probably about to wrap up. It just kind of confirmed why I'm doing what I'm doing. Last week I was in Encinitas, which is the town just south of Carlsbad where my store is opening. So it's about 5 miles away, but it's the nearest area with a concentration of mattress stores. And I went into 4 mattress stores. 3 of them are national chains. One of them is a regional chain. And I actually posted about this on LinkedIn. The first store I went into there was only one RSA, and she was with a guest, which is fine. And just kind of, she gave me I'll be with you in a moment.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I probably laid on 10 different mattresses. I was there for 15 minutes, never. So I just left, which I wasn't going to buy anyway. So that's not a big
Yeah,
deal.
yeah.
What was interesting though, is when I left, I was looking across the street and I was like, the exact same national mattress store chain has a location exactly across the street. She didn't mention that. She didn't say anything about it. It's just like, there it is. So I was like, all right, I'm going to get to that one when I make a U-turn. So then I go down to the next national store, high end, beautiful showroom, nice showroom. Walked in, and I'm in there for a few minutes, kind of walking around in the front part of the store, and then I realize there's nobody in there. I was in there for 4 to 5 minutes, and I felt like I was trespassing. So I left. I was like, wow, that's okay.
Hmm.
Left there. Go down to a third one, a regional one, and you walk in and there was just this sadness about it was just mattresses on a floor. No curation, no
Wow.
nothing. It was just, here's a bunch of mattresses. And it had good brands, all that, but just no sort of, as we say in California, no sort of vibe at all.
Yeah.
And it was only until I got to the last mattress store, which was the second national chain, the second one that was part
Goes
of the
across the street.
same
Yeah.
one. And I walked in, and it took about a minute or so. The guy was in the back, and then he came out, and I was real transparent. I go, oh, I'm not buying a mattress. I'm from the industry. I just wanted to see what you had. I was curious, are you guys much different from the guys across the street with the same name? And he goes, no, we pretty much have the exact same stuff. And I just thought, that's strange that you would have 2 locations with basically the same collection literally across the street from each other.
Yeah.
So anyway, I went away from there. I just thought, yeah, we're doing something right here. We're doing something different. And
So what that tells you is your customers in that area are going to go through the exact same experience or some similar
yeah,
version of it to what you just went through.
exactly.
And
So
that's the important takeaway there.
yeah. And so we want to create something that is just very, very different from that. And we know, as I think every business should know and recognize, we know we're not going to be for everyone. We know there's a certain amount of the market the people that are in the market that are not going to want to come into our store. It's going to be intimidating to them, or they know that we're not going to have the mattresses at the price point that they want.
Hmm.
And it's okay. We want to know exactly who we are and stay true to it. And we're committed to doing it for as long as we can. So
I can't wait to see how it goes for you. I'm so excited for you. Your grand opening is, as of now, scheduled for
December 14th, but I still don't have the keys to the building, so that's
okay.
fluid.
Okay,
Right.
well, we'll stay posted. And for those watching, please follow Golden Dreams Mattress on social media and online and sign up for the alerts. If nothing else, just to support our friend Nate. Even if you're not in the industry, just show a small business owner who's had the courage, who's taken the leap of faith. He's made the jump. He is doing it. He has signed a lease. There is no turning back now. Go show him some support by just supporting his content online and staying up to date and sharing. And if you have a positive interaction, go leave him a review once he gets open. But yeah, that's just priceless to a small business owner. And I can't
It
wait to
really
see your
is.
success. I know you're going to do great things
Yeah.
in your area and in the industry. So thanks again so much for joining us today. I know you're really busy right now, but I appreciate you taking an hour out of the afternoon.
My honor. So glad to be on the show, to spend time with you, and I hope that if there's anything I can do to help you guys with, whether it's with this podcast or what, you have so much to offer, and you really are becoming a real leader in our industry, Kelly. So keep up your good work, because you're taking
Wow.
us in a great direction.
That means a lot to me too. I don't think of myself that way, but I am on a mission to try to change the industry that we love so much. So I appreciate you. I appreciate the kind words. See you supporting the bedhead love there too on your
Yeah.
hat. I'm still a bedhead fan. They took good care of us on
I got
our
it. It's a great hat.
it's a great hat too. They
Yeah,
got a great logo. So you don't mind wearing their branded stuff. It actually looks really cool.
yeah, love it.
All right, Nate. Well, I can't wait till we catch up again. Thanks again, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, Kelly. Tell Joe hey for me.
All right, we'll do.